Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer hearing for February 19th, 2025. My name is Milka Toledo, and I will be conducting the hearing as hearing officer. The Planning Hearing Officer hearing is being broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable Channel 6 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamlined live in high definition HD on the city's webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire, iOS and Android devices using a free app called Cablecast, choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition. I already said that. Meetings are also archived on the city's website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. We have one case involving discretionary permit applications, and the address is 3443 East Chevy Chase Drive. It's a variance PVAR 003-419-2024 is the case number. The hearing will proceed as follows. I will read the description of the application request. I will read the reports received from other city departments and other letters or communication from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to be called on to present or connected by telephone if there is by telephone, but in this case, the applicant is here in person, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be called on to give comment, connected by phone to give comments, again clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case will be taken under submission. Findings. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the required findings set forth in the municipal code, then the project can either be approved or approved with conditions. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Decision. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses, and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Records of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division website. Appeals. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal must file using the city's online permit portal. For any additional information regarding the appeal process and submittal, contact the case planner. Public notice. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. I would also like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the Planning Hearing Officer's hearing are being televised live and may be viewed online on the city's website. So let's go over the case description briefly. As I mentioned, the address is 3443 East Chevy Chase Drive. This is a variance application request, and the applicant is requesting approval of a standards variance to exceed the height limit of 32 feet for a 7,948 square foot, 3-story, single-family residence currently under construction with attached lower decks and 4-car garage, resulting in an overall height of 52 feet, 6 inches, including the rooftop elevator tower. The project is located on an approximately 67,735 square foot hillside lot with an average current slope of approximately 60%, and located in the ROS, Floor Area Ratio District 3, ROS, Residential Open Space, FAR District 3 zone, described as portion of Lot A of Sycamore Canyon Tract in the city of Glendale, County of Los Angeles. And the environmental determination, there's a mitigated negative declaration case on file, PEIF 2008-002, which was prepared for the project, and that was adopted by the zoning administrator back in January 8th, 2009. The proposed changes to the previously approved project currently under construction will not result in any circumstances requiring a subsequent or supplemental mitigated negative declaration. And I'm going to turn it over now to the case planner, Eileen Babahani. And Eileen, also please go over comments from other departments or divisions, and also any comments or letters that we've received from any interested parties. I know that I've received one so far that was forwarded to me by one of the neighbors. And
Okay.
I'll put that into the record shortly.
Good morning and thank you. Planning Hearing Officer, Ms. Toledo. Yes, we received one public comment in opposition of the project. The comment was received in the form of an email and also mail with the same content, which was provided to you for your review and consideration. That was the only comment we received so far. Departmental comments, we do not have any concern, a major concern regarding this variance received from other department. All conditions or comments from various departments seem to be standard comments. With that, maybe I can start my presentation.
Yes, and just for the record, so the email I received was from Nina Picora Garcia, and her concern was the height of the house at the above added. Hold on. And I do see that you had responded.
Actually, that was just a question. That was not a comment in opposition. The comment in opposition was received from a neighbor at 3441 East Chevy Chase Drive.
And that one I have as well, and that was from Ms. Ward, Mr. and Mrs. Ward.
That's correct.
Okay, and I do have that. And their concern is, again, for the variance request regarding the proposed height increase, which is the subject variance that is being reviewed today. And they are not in support of the variance request.
That is correct.
Okay. And with that, yes, please continue with your presentation. Thank you.
No problem. The case before you is a standards variance with the case number PVR PVAR-003-419-2024. The applicant is requesting an approval of a standards variance to exceed the height limit of 32 feet for a 7,948 square foot 3-story house currently under construction with attached lower deck and also 4-car garage, which will result in the overall height of 47 feet. And if we include the elevator tower, the overall height of the house will be 52 feet and 6 inches. This project is located on an approximately 67,735 square foot hillside lot with an average current slope of approximately 60%, located in ROS zone, floor area ratio district 3. The subject site is located on the west side of Chevy Chase Drive and features a downsloping slope from the street. Before the current project, the hillside was vacant. The subject development, including the house and driveway, is located on the north part of the site, which is a north slope. It is away from, and it is located lower than the street level. The site contains several indigenous protected trees located mostly on the south part of the site. The house is accessed from Chevy Chase Drive with a long driveway bridge that is located on the northeast side of the site. The surrounding area contains vacant hillside lots and also single-family residence, zoned ROS and R1R, floor area ratio district 3s. The existing landscaping, dense landscaping and also trees, and also significant distances between the house and neighboring properties provides substantial visual buffer between the subject site and neighboring houses. Here I have the photos of the subject property. Photo number 1 shows the driveway access. Here on this level, you can see the Chevy Chase Drive, location of the house and driveway. And this photo was taken looking into the side from Chevy Chase Drive, looking north. And here is the house looking down from Chevy Chase Drive. So this is the roof of the house. And this is a slide. We have the site plan of the subject property. You can see the layout of the house and the long driveway getting access from Chevy Chase, located on the west side of Chevy Chase. Going over the history of this development, in January of 2009, a conditional use permit was approved with conditions, and mitigated negative declaration was adopted by the zoning administrator for construction of this house. In January of 2010, design review application was approved with conditions by Design Review Board for construction of this house with an attached 4-car garage and a detached deck with minimum separation of 5 feet from the house at the lower level of the house. In December of 2011, several building permits were issued by Building and Safety Division for construction of the new house, retaining walls, deck, and also construction of the driveway. In 2012, July of 2012, indigenous story permits were issued by Public Works Department, and in September of 2015, building permit revision for the construction of the house was approved by Building and Safety Division to revise the structural plans and change the wood framing of the house to steel framing, while the deck at the lower level of the house was attached to the house as part of the revision. On February 3, 2025, Director of the Community Development Department approved with conditions a reasonable accommodation request to allow the increased height of the house by 5 feet and 6 inches in conjunction with construction of a new rooftop elevator tower. Due to the hillside topography of the site and limited outdoor spaces, except the project lower deck area and balconies, the project was originally approved to use the flat roof as a rooftop deck with the staircase access to provide basically additional accessible outdoor space. The proposed rooftop elevator tower, which was approved as part of reasonable accommodation request, will provide access to the rooftop deck for a disabled family member who suffers from mobility challenges. The slide before you is basically the house and the design that was approved and was presented to DRB in 2010 and was approved. I have the floor plans of the house. This is the basement level. This is the first floor plan. And here is the second floor, or the top floor of the house. I have the elevation drawings for your review here, front elevation and rear elevation. Since the lot slopes down, so rear elevation basically is only the top floor of the house. And east elevation, on the top, it's the elevator tower, and the overall height shown on this elevation is taken from the lowest point of the building to the top part of the building, which will be 52 feet and 6 inches. And I have the west elevation on this slide. According to section 30.43.030 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a variance may be granted only if all 4 findings of fact can be made. For this project, for finding A, strict application of the 32-foot height requirement along with the 5-foot separation requirement between the lower deck and the house would result in practical difficulties and unnecessary hardship. This is because the separated deck would require significant grading and construction of massive piles and columns to support the deck structurally. Furthermore, will the approximately 82% average slope for the area of the house, constructing detached piles and supporting columns for a detached deck will be extremely difficult due to the inaccessibility of heavy construction equipment necessary to install the subject piles. For this reason, the building permit was modified in 2015 to reflect the current construction and current height of 47 feet. These reasons, along with the unusual steep topography of the site, which is 82%, as I mentioned, in the area of the house, and the requirement to maintain the zoning requirement to maintain the ungraded open space requiring a code-compliant building height would be practically difficult and unnecessary hardship. For finding B, the lot coverage, the lot area, the lot average current slope of unusually 82% in the area of the house, and the protected trees on the site, unusual lot slope, which slopes down from almost 4 sides, also ungraded open space requirement, also requirement to meet the city hillside design guideline, altogether create exceptional circumstances and make the property unique compared to many hillside property within the city, warranting this height variance request. For finding C, the increased building height will not be detrimental to the public welfare since it will be added at the lower level of the house for the lower level deck. Furthermore, the increased building height will not be visible from the neighboring properties or from Chevy Chase Drive. Therefore, the height variance will not impact the neighboring homes across Chevy Chase Drive or the neighboring homes on the south side of the house, as the subject house is located at the lower elevation than adjacent building homes, neighboring homes. Also, comments, as was mentioned, received from various city department did not raise any concern, and the applicant must obtain all required permits for maintenance from Maintenance Services Division or Urban Forestry regarding the existing indigenous tree protection on the site and within 20 feet of the site. For finding D, the project is under construction currently, and with a new single-family resident under construction since 2012, and due to issues mainly related to the building height after the 2015 permit revision, the applicant, the owner of the property, has worked with the city staff and explored various options to comply with the zoning code. Additionally, removal of the attached deck or modification to the existing metal framing is practically impossible, as the entire project would need to be redesigned and reconstructed. Given that the project is under construction and the building framing has already been constructed according to the approved revised building permit plans and also passed building and safety inspections, the requested height variance is applicable and will not be contrary to the objectives of the city's ordinances. Also, these discretionary requests located in our ROS zone takes the following into consideration: that the house and landscape plans basically were approved by Design Review Board in 2010, ensuring compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood as well as the city's design objectives. The request modification to the height will help the mass and the scale and also footprint of the house to be reduced, basically, which is the intent of the Hillside Design Guidelines and intent of the code. Also, only a small portion of the house is directly visible from Cheviches Drive. The house size and site layout, as is shown here, are similar to the other homes in nearby neighborhood. Also, the proposed flat roof is consistent with the contemporary design style of the house, and the interior setbacks comply with the ROS standards. The project provides a large street front setback, which is more than the required 15-foot street front setback in this zone. Also, the floor area of the proposed building complies with the zoning code and floor area ratio of the subject site. The proposed attached deck at the lower level of the house helps to minimize alteration to the natural terrain as well. As determined by the Design Review Board back in 2010, the design and detailing of the house is consistent and complementary to the surrounding development. Later modifications to framing, also to the floor area and balconies, showing the attached deck to be, the lower deck to be attached to the basement level of this house, are compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, since the overall design concept, the architectural style, and site planning of the building have not been changed. For the conclusion, staff believes that the findings for this variance can be made in a positive manner, and therefore staff recommends approval of this application with conditions stated in Exhibit 1 attached to the staff report. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Babahani. I do have, a couple of points I just wanted to emphasize. So the variance request for the height is only for 47 feet.
That is correct.
Okay. The additional 5 foot 6 inch increase is not being reviewed because that was already determined or approved through, by way of the reasonable accommodation.
Request, yes.
Okay, so we just want to make it clear that today we're only reviewing the variance height increase for 47 feet overall height.
So basically 47 foot overall height is from the top of the parapet of the roof to the bottom of where the deck is basically ending at the bottom of the building.
Okay. And you mentioned this, but I just want to emphasize the point. The original floor area or square footage, or floor area of the house, that has not changed
According to my understanding, that has not changed.
compared to the original submittal.
I can check that very quickly.
And I could also ask the applicant to confirm that.
So
And-
originally it was, if we allow me, I can read that very quick. So originally, Design Review Board approved with conditions the house with a floor area of 7,984 square feet. What we have in front of us is basically less than what was approved, and it is 7,948
Okay.
square feet.
Okay, so it's slightly lower. But the outdoor deck wouldn't necessarily, it wouldn't count towards floor area because it's an outdoor.
It is not floor area.
It's a
That is-
deck, 'cause it would just be lot coverage,
Exactly.
which was originally already accounted for with the original square footages. Okay, And then lastly, regarding comments from other departments, it seems like there were no specific or any issues that were raised, I should say, from other city departments. It seems like we had just general comments, and then, of course, a little more detail presented from urban forestry, because obviously there's oak trees on the property, so they did mention that the plants must continue to demonstrate the proposed replacement trees, and they talked about applicant must comply and obtain a street tree permit for newly planted trees. Do those comments still stand today?
Exactly. Those are basically comments that always apply to this
General.
project until the construction is completed. So the owner applicant of the project requires to work very closely with urban forestry for every step of the project to make sure that indigenous trees will be protected on the site.
Perfect. And that was also mentioned by the urban forestry team, where they actually mentioned that they do support the project. It is supportable by forestry, given the applicant adheres to all requirements originally provided in their previous memo. So, moving forward, as part of the construction of the project will continue to comply with the comments and conditions and mitigation measures and the original environmental initial study mitigation measures associated with the project.
So
Okay.
the original mitigation measures of the MND was mainly related to the protected trees on the site.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying those points. And I will have the speaker come forward. I only have one speaker card this morning, and that would be from Ali Vada. Come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good morning, I'm Ali Vadani, the applicant for the variance at 3443 East Chevy Chase Drive, which will be my primary residence when construction is done. I appreciate the opportunity to present my request. I would like to highlight the unique characteristics of this property and the necessity of this variance.
And Mr. Avadani, if you can kind of incorporate the variance findings
Yes.
in your presentation, I would appreciate
Yes,
that.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I began this project wanting to build my house, which is 2 minutes away from where I live currently. And in 2010, I received Design Review Board approval as the first step in the construction process. In 2011, I received initial plan approval, and in 2015, the city approved my plans to build a house using steel and concrete as the means and method of construction. And I did that because we are in fire zone, and I wanted to be my home to be fire retardant to the extent that I could.
So originally it was wood construction,
Yeah.
and then you changed
The steel and
to steel.
concrete.
And please excuse me for interrupting you, but
problem.
was that something that you voluntarily did, or was that a requirement during the plan check process from the
No, I
building
did
code?
that voluntarily, and because the process was first to build a driveway, and I have to give credit to our architect, Mr. Hagobian, who tried to design the house, tuck into the slope, downward slope, and for that reason, we had to build the driveway first, which is about 200 feet long.
Yes, I saw that
Yeah,
when I
all
drove by the
sitting on
property.
piles
Yes.
and all that. So while building that, I thought, because I'm in a fire zone,
Yes,
why don't I change the design? So we started talking, and we
when you
changed.
say design, you mean the construction type,
Yeah, the
Okay.
construction.
not the
type.
architectural
No,
design, but this,
architectural
the-
didn't change.
okay.
Contemporary, the same opening
it's
and
just
all that.
the construction material,
The
if you will.
structural part was redesigned. So Now I continue. I appreciate very much the staff recommendation to approve my variance request with condition. I have reviewed those 6 conditions and will comply as approved or as requested. Key justification for the variance. The staff report confirms the granting a height variance is not inconsistent with the intent of current building codes or prior plan approvals. The house remains largely concealed from a street view. Again, credit to my architect. Mitigating concerns regarding visual size. The construction that has occurred to date remains consistent with plans approved by the Design Review Board and Planning Department. The variance is in line with the land use objective. The home's location and the setback, the fact that it's right tucked into the slope, ensure that it will not impact neighboring properties or obstruct views, which again is in line with city's land use objective. No negative impact on the community. This variance application is not introducing new improvements or design elements, but rather formalizing a design that was already reviewed and guided by city staff in previous approvals. City approved plans indicated that the home and deck would be attached. A key point in this request is that in 2015, the city required the home and deck to be attached for structural and safety reasons. That finding is included in the first page of the staff report and analysis. The 2015 modification is consistent with 2011 structural plan approvals made by the city. In closing, this variance request aligns with previous city approvals, particularly the 2015 requirements to attach the deck, which was consistent with the 2011 structural plan approval. The staff report confirms that granting this variance is not inconsistent with the intent of municipal code, reinforcing its legitimacy and compliance with city standards. The project meets the intent of Glendale's zoning and hillside regulations, ensuring safety, environmental preservation, and design integrity. In addition, I believe this house is a good example of how a house should be built. Of course, it costs a lot more in a fire zone. And, you know, just imagine if we have less wood frame structure, how much less the city will be impacted in case of the fire experience we just had a month ago. I respectfully request approval of this variance and appreciate your time and consideration.
And thank you for your presentation. And just some comments or questions, I should say, that I have, and some of them we've already kind of gone over, but just to emphasize. So moving forward, now, the change really is just now that this detached garage is now attached to the house.
Detached deck, yes.
Correct, the detached deck, thank you,
Sure.
is now attached to the house. There's no other changes that are being proposed or as part of this review?
No.
This is it? Okay. So in reality, there really isn't any change in terms of the actual, what's visible from other properties compared to what was originally reviewed?
That's correct.
Because you're literally just taking, here's the deck that was separated 5 feet or so apart from the actual primary building, now you're attaching it. So what was originally presented and viewed, potentially from neighboring properties, that mass and scale, nothing is changing?
No,
Okay, so it's just that technicality that per our zoning code, by attaching it, we now need to calculate the overall height dimension from the lowest part of the deck, from where it is exposed above the grounds, above grade, to the overall height, or the topmost portion of the building.
that's correct.
Okay,
We still have a planter. Even though it's attached, you will see planters that I love to keep, and it's consistent with what we had before.
okay. Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that point. And then all the, the oak trees and protected trees, that's all being worked out, and I'm assuming preserved, that's why you had located the house or situated
Absolutely.
exactly where it is
Yes.
today, or under construction today.
Yes.
Again, because that would enable the preservation of these existing protected trees.
Yes.
And you're working with the city's arborist, and you have your mitigation measures in place that you're currently and will continue to comply with.
Yes.
And again, the plans that have been submitted are part of the subject variance request being heard today. Are they pretty much the same? They're the same plans essentially that were reviewed and approved by the Building and Safety Plan Check staff during that plan modification?
Yeah, we
review?
built according to the plans that was approved in 2015.
Okay,
Still remains the same.
still remains the same,
Yes.
except for that one modification?
Yes.
Okay. Where you, again, you changed the type of building material,
Yeah, we changed from wood to steel.
wood to steel, which is more
And-
expensive.
Yeah, which is a
and-
lot more expensive
and-
than concrete.
Right.
And I don't regret that because of the fire retardant characteristic of the kind of building I built.
Okay.
It actually creates a buffer for my neighbors in
Okay.
case of a fire. It's a big buffer,
And again, moving forward, there are no, well, again, there are no other changes that are being proposed as part of the request. That's, again, we've established is just for that, the deck to be attached to the house. Okay. And there's also the suggested conditions that were included in the staff report, which you mentioned that you are in agreement with,
Yes,
because you will need to obtain a design review plan amendment approval
yes, I'm
Okay.
prepared to do that.
moving forward.
Yes,
Will this project moving forward also require you to go into plan check again? Or is that to be determined by the building and safety?
I
Plan check
intend to
staff.
build an ADU that obviously I haven't built yet. So I have to prepare a structural as well as architectural. I intend to do a pool on the site that needs a structural and architectural approval. So I'm prepared to comply with any additional things that I'm adding to go through the
Those
regular.
are separate, because
those
those,
are
like,
separate.
if it's a mandatory ADU, that's a separate process
Yeah.
per the state ordinance.
Yes.
And pool permits request, again, those are also submitted through the building and safety plan check, and we'll process those accordingly with the zoning code and the building code as well.
Absolutely.
So those are separate, but, okay, I guess that was, I just wanted to emphasize the point that no other changes other than what we've talked about is being reviewed today, just the variance height, the request for the increased height to 47 feet to attach the deck.
Right.
Okay, and you're in agreement with the suggested conditions as well?
Absolutely.
They're outlined in the report. Okay, is there anything else that you would like to add at this point? Or,
No, I just appreciate, after all these years, I am going to be able to finish the house that I wanted to build and live in there.
okay. Well, it's been several years now in the making, so I'm sure that the community would appreciate the project to, be complete in
Yes.
its final
Absolutely.
form.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Thank you.
And I'll ask the case planner, do we have any callers?
We do not have any caller at this point.
Okay.
Ms. Oliva.
Okay, so we don't have any callers. So what I'll do is I will close the public portion of this hearing. I will render a decision in writing, so I'm going to take the case under submission, and I'll, again, render a decision in writing. And at this point, I thank you for attending and presenting, and this hearing is now officially closed. Thank you for your participation, and thank you, and it's 10:17 in the morning.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Thank you.
We're adjourned.